This is a public service announcement addressing all potential recruits for the United States Armed Forces. Ever since the September 11 false flag, activists around the world have been meticulously documenting the overwhelming evidence, which proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the 9/11 attacks were carried out by members of the U.S. government, along with assistance from foreign entities such as the Israeli government. A significant portion of U.S. government personnel played a part in the 9/11 attacks at some level. Many of these individuals could be charged with felony concealment or arraigned as an accomplice, accessory, or accessory after the fact. These men and women have committed Class A felonies. At a bare minimum, they should receive life in prison with no parole. Many top U.S. military commanders who hold or have held a position within the U.S. government during and since the 9/11 false flag attacks are guilty of treason for refusing to step forward and publicly expose the false flag. These men and women have intimate knowledge of the inner workings of the United States military-industrial complex, and yet they remain silent when it comes to 9/11. All Joint Chiefs during and since the 9/11 false flag attacks are guilty of treason for refusing to step forward and publicly expose the 9/11 false flag. Their positions of extreme influence require that they speak out about 9/11, and yet they have not. The former Commander-in-Chief, George W. Bush, is guilty of treason for his role as an accessory to the 9/11 false flag attacks. The current Commander-in-Chief, Barack Obama, is guilty of felony concealment for refusing to come forth and publicly acknowledge the U.S.-sponsored 9/11 false flag. In addition to the 9/11 principal operatives, there are thousands of U.S. government employees who remain complicit in the cover-up of the 9/11 false flag. Based upon the readily available 9/11 false flag evidence, any U.S. soldier signing up after 2015 shall be listed as traitors to America. As a potential recruit, you have had more than enough time to research the ample 9/11 false flag evidence and must refuse to join the fraudulent U.S. Armed Forces. The U.S. Armed Forces as a whole have defended and continue to defend the perpetrators of the U.S. government-backed false flag on September 11, 2001. The U.S. Armed Forces are responsible for protecting the guilty parties within the U.S. government which demolished the towers on 9/11, as innocent office workers were burned alive and forced to jump out of high-rise buildings to their deaths. Should you decide to join the U.S. Armed Forces in 2016 or beyond, you are not even worthy of being called an American. Your filthy uniform belongs in a trash heap. Your medals and patches are worthless trinkets of deceit. If you come back from one of the many illegal wars being waged in the name of the 9/11 false flag, do not look for sympathy as you suffer from PTSD. If your leg is blown off by an IED in Afghanistan, do not look to real Americans for sympathy. You have brought this injury upon your own head for selling out the American people. Come 2016, I advise all real Americans to rip all "Support the Troops" bumper stickers off of their cars. Refuse to congratulate any person in uniform for their mercenary service. Future U.S. military recruits still have a choice. Do not choose a fraudulent paycheck over your country. Do not choose the GI Bill over truth. If you choose to join the U.S. military in 2016 or beyond, we will not support you any longer. As we enter the year 2016, let all real Americans consider the U.S. military a foreign occupying force. In 2016, Army recruits will be listed as traitors, Navy as traitors, Air Force traitors, Marines traitors, SEALs traitors, Delta Force traitors. You will all be deemed traitors, and we will recognize you as such. Based upon substantial evidence regarding the U.S. government-backed 9/11 attacks against its own people, all enlisted U.S. troops are obligated to consider Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution and re-examine their oaths under the law. The authors of this video hold no grudge against the average United States veteran who served prior to 9/11. Likewise, in many cases, we are willing to give the benefit of the doubt to troops recruited up to the year 2010 who have since been discharged. During this time period, the evidence surrounding the 9/11 false flag was still mounting. The time span ranging from 2010 to 2015 offers a tiny bit of gray area for the average grunt who may be a complete moron and therefore cannot necessarily be held accountable for what they perceive to be blind patriotism in the face of U.S. government deception. However, real American leniency will only go so far. Our patience is not infinite. 2016 is the line in the sand.